Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review The Boys, Season 3, Episode 4. So, of course, this being halfway through the season, it's an easy episode to say that this episode was great, it was fun. They, showcase some things in this episode. They made us go, oh, in some parts of the episode also. And they also wasted some time also in the show by going on and building up to something that I'm like, man, that just got snuffed out. That just got snuffed. What the fuck? But anyways, and you never really knew, you never really got to really showcase, see, thing of what character, but I can't really say it, because spoilers, or going into spoilers eventually. So, we have A-Train that is going on and seemingly having a much more role in this episode. He's to go on and do a commercial, as well as go on and chime in with the Seven, kind of letting them know what mission that they should go off and do, because it may be in their benefit. And eventually we have some conflict between the Deep and A-Train. The guys who were buddy-buddy from season past are now kind of back at odds with one another. And so we have to where the Deep is giving A-Train crap. And A-Train's like, really? Like, I'm getting crap from the Deep? It's like, well, yeah, because you got no powers there, buddy. You gotta go on and figure out something. You gotta become Batman or something. Maybe he'll become a man. Instead of A-Train, he'll become a man. He needs to become a man. That seems kind of weird. Anyways, because he is one. Anyways, so pushing on. But it seems that if Newman was just a character for Huey to call and say, yeah, I'm busy today, blah, blah, blah. Like, Newman is to kind of really step up in this episode, and she's to have a more, bigger role here. And eventually I want to see where that goes. I want to see where that heads. We also have little Nina that is go on and send the boys overseas on a mission because I guess a payment is just not good enough from the boys. She wants them to go on and do certain missions, which are also fun, but then reveal some certain things. Reveal some characters that might go on and may be really interesting in future episodes. I hate being so vague. Anyways, but we'll get into spoilers. So, with new people who we've briefly seen possibly being more added into the show, we're also chopping some people off. One way or the other. Really, I kind of am starting to have fun with how Ashley is being used within the season, because normally she would be just this kind of yes gal, and then eventually it seems that they're much more incorporating her into, kind of having some jokes, kind of having some fun in this episode. Kind of being much more than kind of telling Starlight, what to do and what to not do, because that usually gets really annoying. So it seems like this is a character that's going on and torturing some of her less than employees, and that kind of just becomes fun. So, and we also have it to where Homelander and Starlight are doing a bunch of couple things, which, of course, Homelander is to consistently torture Starlight with. And then we get to some, time with Huey, and some time with other certain characters, one way or the other. And man, was I just... We'll get to spoilers. But anyways, let's go into that Dell 5. We also leave off right as we were to end in the last episode, which was nice to kind of give us that even flow if someone was to go in and watch and just stream this 4 episodes all in one bang. They would feel like continuity, that they're focusing back on what it is that they had left off of from the last episode. So that was great. but like we're getting characters that are very much power hungry. We're starting to see that the Butcher is going on and eventually like treating people like crap much more so than normal, but then also turning around, and so he's power hungry, but then he wants to like hand off the torch. And I'm like, that seems so goofy. Like we have this guy that just kind of promising people things that he may never give to them, and but he's also just like, yeah, I don't like you. Yeah. Like, know your place. And I'm like, whoa. Like, okay, Butcher. Like, this is kind of different than the soft and like I thought Butcher was getting a little soft. You know what? Like I thought that this whole kid thing was gonna like really make him like a softer guy, but instead, like we just come and turn around and just have the Butcher be more of an a-hole possibly than anything. But then also like he's technically putting his life at risk when he's needling up with that temporary compound V. So if he could be an a-hole, it's like, well, maybe he's not going to be around for very long. Sad to say, but for probably anybody that were to have gone on and read a bunch of the comic books and what have you, probably a lot of people know where everything is already going. Because, like, I just like to watch the show and just, you know. But anyways, let's go into that double five. Because about that time, again, to just go into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about the time I'm going to do spoil this episode. Let's just go into spoilers, because I've kind of been vague enough, and I hate the fact that I kept having to, like, kind of pull away, because I hate that. So let's go into it. Let's not pull away. Let's pull a, you know what I'm saying? Anyways. One other thing. Little Nina, overseas mission, cool stuff happens. We'll get into it. So, in the very beginning of this episode, I'm not going to be able to remember it perfectly, like scene for scene, because I went on and I watched this episode honestly twice, but then I had to do like a very long stretch of a project, and hopefully I can just remember a lot of this episode. That's the goal, because normally I would just review this, or normally I'd watch it and then like review it just then, because I know that I'll forget a bajillion things. Anyways, let's go on. So, the Butcher. The Butcher is taking a big old Ralph and puking on Huey at the beginning of this episode. And so we go on, we have, of course, Butcher and Huey that are cleaning this up. So Huey's like, hey, you're on Compound V. And the Butcher is like, well, hey, it's temporary Compound V. It's a whole different animal. It's 24 hours. And so the Butcher is to go on and say that he needed Compound B to take on Gunpowder, who was chasing after him. And so Huey's like, well, where did you get it from? And the Butcher is just like, well, like I have my sources. I'm not going to tell you. So Huey's like, okay, like, all right, like, but Huey, of course, is to get upset within this episode. Oh, he's to get upset. And so, because his life isn't going the way he wants it, like, he doesn't get to have time with his girl, and so, and it seems like Starlight is being, like, torn away to eventually be with Supersonic, or torn away to be with Homelander. And so I can see maybe frustration in Huey just building. So, with that said, let's move on. So, we have, of course, where A-Train is to go on and do this commercial spot, and it seems that A-Train is to also want to figure out how he can be useful for the team. And so we go on and we have A-Train before his commercial starts is to speak with Ashley, and it's to tell her, it's like, well, hey, like, I want to go on and, like, I want to tell the team about this hero that's kind of going on, and doing the wrong thing, and like we should probably bench him. And so Ashley is going on and on about like, well, like my hashtag is hashtag Black Lives Matter, and like all of my Instagram screens are black, and this and that. So like she's just kind of saying, it's like, well, hey, like if anyone cares about this, it's me. But like I don't know how far that's really gonna go in the round table room with all the seven. I don't know how that's gonna really play out. So A-Train goes on and does this commercial where he, of course, is having this like protest rally against the like these SWAT teams, and like these guys that have this kind of like barricade kind of way about them. And I'm like, man, like, ugh. Yeah. I don't know if riots would be like the best thing to just be showcasing here. But anyways, so we have it to where A-Train is to go on and is to show up and to stop these like two from possibly fighting. And so we go on and we have A-Train, who gives the police officer this like this turbo drink, and he drinks it, and then all of a sudden everybody's like dancing together and this and that. And so A-Train's like, yeah, like come on guys, let's all get along and this and that. So everybody's dancing, and then like the commercial ends with like A-Train posing, and then they call it a wrap. So we go on, and everybody's eventually going on and doing their thing. So we have it to where Starlight is with Huey, and like Starlight and Huey are talking about like, well, hey, like it'll all work out, and this and that. And all of a sudden like Homelander just busts in and be like, oh, what will work out, Starlight and Huey? And Starlight's like, well, like my new like music that I just installed. And he's like, oh, okay. So we have it where Homelander is going and looking at Huey's cast, and he ends up signing it like best Homelander, like big fat print. So realizing that at some point Huey may not get a lot of those people to be signing his cast at some point. But anyways, so Homelander is going on and saying that Starlight is to snore too much, and then Homelander's like, I'm joking, because that has to be Homelander now, where everything has to be like, hey, I'm just joking around. You won't know when I'm joking, but I'm joking, because I know it makes you uncomfortable. So we go on and we have it to where Homelander is telling Huey that Starlight and him need to go into this photo shoot, and the photo shoot between him and Maeve was really scandalous from before, and like we'll kind of see like how scandalous this photo shoot will get, huh? And Homelander is telling Huey like, I'm joking, me, joke, you know. So Huey is just like, but I just want to murder you. And so Starlight is going on and is with Homelander and is telling him, knock it off, or I'm going to use my eyes to just scare you down. And Homelander's like, come on, like, let's go to this photo shoot, let's get it done, come on. So we have it, of course, where Homelander and Starlight are to go off to do their photo shoot, and then they go on and eventually make their way, of course, into meeting up with Seven to do this meeting. So we go on here and, of course, have it to where like A-Train is to pitch in and is to mention that there is a character named Blue Hawk, that it seems that he's going on and doing some controversial things within certain parts of town, and that he may need to be benched. And we all of a sudden have it to where Deep is going on and talking to his lady, and like through this text. And so the Deep is going on like, huh? It's like, like, so the Deep is going on and saying like, well, hey, like Homelander, doesn't Blue Hawk like doesn't he normally go in a lot of like patrols that you go into, like a lot of places, like a lot of parts of the city that you go into? It's like, isn't that like, isn't that kind of a bad thing to go on and bench a character when like things are so thin the way they are? And Homelander's like, yeah, good point, Deep. Like, I think I want to go on and just like, I think Blue Hawk is fine. So we go on and have this meeting, and so we also had it to where Starlight was telling Homelander that that he better buck off because Starlight is gonna go on and take her like popularity points or whatever they freaking are, and take them with her. And I'm like, sure, like they're gonna mean a whole hill of beans once you leave the Seven. I don't know about that, but we'll figure that out. So uh anyways, so we go on into this episode, and so now A Train and uh and the Deep are fighting. This is right after we go on and we're welcoming Supersonic into the Seven, and everybody's to get this massive taco bowl, and we go on and we still have Homelander speaking in Spanish, and Supersonic is like, you know, I don't speak Spanish, Homelander, right? Like, you realize that. And Homelander is like, oh, hey, like, but look at these taco bowls. Like, aren't they great? And, like, we have the Deep who's like, yeah, this is muy delicioso. God, man, the Deep. Man, there was some potential when he was, like, shaving his head and he was going to possibly be a villain. And then we realized, like, how like silly that is, and then they had to like change him into being some kind of person that has lost his way, and like he had to have a mentor to get him back on track. And so we go on, and after that meeting we have Supersonic, A Train, the Deep kind of walking out together. And so we had it to where Starlight was talking to Supersonic and was saying like, well, hey, like are you still in if we go after Homelander? And Supersonic is like, well, yeah, like of course I'm in because I love you and I've always loved you. And Starlight's like, yee, well, you know I'm with Huey, right? And Supersonic's like, I'm messing with you. Like, you know what? Like, I'm just here to try to do the right thing. Like, you know, like I can't go on and be with you anyways because like you're whiter than white. And like, and I was like, what if Supersonic wasn't kidding? Like, is that gonna haunt Starlight forever? Then maybe he wasn't kidding. Who knows? By the end of this episode. Anyways, so, but let's go back to this. So, because there's a whole reason why I went to that, because there's stuff leading up after that. So, A-Train's fighting with the Deep, and they end up smacking a wall, and I'm like, hey, somebody has to rebuild that wall when you bash through it. What the fuck, Deep and A-Train? Somebody has to make a wall when you bash through it. You realize that? You know how many Avengers movies you go on and see how much destruction in their wake, and they don't give a but then you have Michael Keaton that's cleaning it up for whatever goofy reason. He was freaking Batman at one point. He shouldn't be the janitor of the Avengers. Seems weird. Anyways, pushing on. So, we have it to where after the scuffle, we have Homelander that's kind of like, come on, guys. Like, come on, Deep. Like, come on. And A-Train with your useless legs. Come on! So, Deep and Homelander go off, and so Supersonic is taking A-Train to this elevator, and so Supersonic is telling A-Train, it's like, well, hey, like, we have this thing going on, it's great, called mutiny. Do you want to join A-Train? And A-Train's like, yeah, that really sounds good. But I don't have any powers, so instead of me going on and eventually, having no real benefit about joining this mutiny, I'm going to go on and whisper sweet nothings to Homelander later on in this episode. So, we also have Starlight that's meeting up with Queen Maeve, and Queen Maeve is just training it out. She's flipping and doing all this cool stuff within this carpet. And so we have Starlight who's going on and like seeing Maeve. She's like, "Oh, you're training. Like I just and like Maeve is like, yeah, I get it. You probably thought that I'd probably be knee deep with any other lover or something like that. Like that I wouldn't be going on and trying to be at my physical peak. Come on, Starlight. This is Maeve we're talking about here. Yeah, like she had in the last season, she had some stumbles, but this is freaking Maeve you're talking about here. I like Maeve. We'll see what happens this season. But anyways, Maeve. Moving on. So we go on and we have, of course, we have Starlight that is asking Maeve, like, are you still in on the mutiny, the alliance? And, like, Queen Maeve is like, well, like, I could probably get some good licks in, but, like, I think we need more people, like, obviously. So not only with that, while A-Train was talking about Blue Hawk in this meeting, we also have it to where Homelanders find out that Newman is to want to go on and do this press conference that might have some tying to go on with Homelander, because Homelander had gone and done this interview talking about these kind of secret people that are kind of taking control of Vought, and like you won't probably know who they really are, but they're there. And so we have this interview where it's like, well, yeah, like out of that heroic speech that you did, and Homelander's like, yeah, thank you, yeah, I did it to get the points on the popularity. So we have it to where, of course, we go on and we have Edgar that is going to Newman and is telling Newman to go on and try and put Homelander in his place. And so Newman has to go on and be that person instead of Edgar going on and doing that. So we kind of have Newman that's kind of like the kind of like how A-Train was between the riot or the protesters, my bad, and like the police, and she's kind of caught in the middle, and she's like, well, like I think I'm probably just gonna do what's best for me, not for anybody else. F everybody else. I'm doing what I'm gonna do for me. So we go on and we have Newman, who is to go on and do this press conference. And so everybody's kind of watchful eye of like, oh, what's going to go on here? So Newman is to go up and is to, of course, say that it seemed that Homelander was to go on and turn in Stan Edward. And it seems that Stan Edward was to have gone on and done a number of illegal things, and that she is to have finally like caught him in the act of all of this. And so then we go on, we have Newman talking to Edgar, and Edgar's like, well, why? And Newman goes on and she says like, well, like it always seemed that I was protecting you instead of you protecting me. So I think it was about time for her to protect herself. So eventually we go on, we have Edgar talking to Homelander later on, and Edgar's like, no, like, that's how I kind of raised her to eventually, like, look out for herself. and to try to get one up on Homelander. Just like, no, I planned that all along. You just weren't there when it happened. Homelander. So, yeah, so we. But I'll get to a little bit more of that dialogue eventually. But why not right now? Like Homelander at one point is just like say that at one point he was like in fear of Edgar. Then he just finds him pathetic because I guess it's like we have Homelander that is starting to become like maybe Magneto, where he's just like, well, like I guess like we're two different people now. You're a human and I'm a soup, so two different now. He's gonna start sounding like Ewan McGregor. Charles. Charles, is that you? Anyways, so oh my god, little Nina. Where did that happen? How all of a sudden did that happen? Have I been saying things all wrong all the time now? Oh my god, I must have. Yeah, my bad. So the girl who was Tessa, I just saw this in IMDb just now, is actually Little Nina. I think that's where I got confused in the prior episodes. Now that I've heard this girl's name, and IMDb saw this, because I was like, oh yeah, I was just not even looking at IMDb until now. Anyways, so we'll get to Little Nina in a little bit. So so we find out that Edgar is taking a temporary leave of absence, but Homelander is saying like, well, you know how like temporary will eventually just be permanent anyways, right? When it comes down to being here. So Edgar is to go on and say it's like, well, hey, like then like why are you here? Like are you still trying to get my like acceptance? Like I'm your father or like because I think, yeah, Homelander has probably technically looked at all these leaders as like some kind of like parent of sorts. Maybe even Stormfront, which is kind of weird. Um, but yeah, it kind of seems like anytime anyone's to kind of step in and eventually kind of lead the way of whatever is going on, it seems that, yeah, like we've had this mother and father kind of thing. But anyways, pushing on. So we've kind of covered most of that. So and Edgar is going to tell Homelander that he's going to be like the new leader of this whole Vought thing. So it's like good luck. Good luck. Like you're just a like you're just like a bad product. And so like good luck to you. So we go on and let's get to the little Nina stuff. So we have, of course, where Frenchie is to go on and talk to Butcher about what all happened with Nina. So now the Butcher is going and taking government money to pay off little Nina. And we have it where little Nina's like, well, like this payoff, like, really isn't good enough because I have pain and suffering and sleepless nights and like, how much more can you just give to me? And so the Butcher's like, what do you want? And she's like, Frenchie. And he's like, nope. What else do you want? Anything else but that. So we have the Butcher who is to strike a deal with little Nina, which is to lead them to go all the way overseas to go on these missions. So of course, within this episode, we, of course, heaven forbid, we have every single, especially name that I want, to be in IMDb. Isn't that great? So, we, at first, go on and have Kimiko that is to go on her mission because she's the only female of this group. And so she has to go on and visit this guy who's just called a wanker, and because that's what eventually Butcher calls him, and kill him, and then just get out of there. Like, take a picture of him that he's dead, and then get the heck out of there. So we go on and have it where Kimiko is to be dropped off by this van. And so Kimiko is to go on with this nice dress. And we have Belle Biv DeVoe playing in the background. Poison. Yeah, that's really good. Some Belle Biv DeVoe. If you guys were to know, they were probably, or yeah, they were. They were originally from the New Edition, but then they went off and kind of skewed, and like Bobby Brown did his thing, and then Belle Biv DeVoe did their thing, and eventually they did reunions and stuff with New Edition and whatever. But Belle Biv DeVoe, thumbs up. Anyways, as if they're watching this. So we go on and we have Kimiko, or Kimiko. I'm probably pronouncing it every single time I say it. So we have her go on into this place, and come to find out, this guy is to go on and have all these adult toys that are to possibly be at a certain point where you would probably strap yourself in one of these things. Because I'm not quite sure if this guy is to have manhood, or really that he is to have this girl do this to him. I'm a little... But so we go on and we have this man, this wanker guy, who is to have many certain flavors of adult toys, and he's to rattle off that I guess there is a Black Noir version of this, there's a Homelander version of this, there's a Starlight version of this. Like, he weirdly has all the collector set of all the adult toys of certain 7 characters. And so it seems that at first he's to go on and see that this girl wants the Starlight one, and he's like, oh, okay, let's get ready for this. Like, take off your robe. So we go on and have Kimiko, who is to snap this guy's neck, and then eventually is to go on and kill all these other guys. And we have one of the women that is to take a gun from one of the men, and it's to shoot Kimiko in the head. And now we have the X-Men 2 moment where, like, Kimiko ends up taking the bullet and having it come back from out of her head. It falls. Then she's like, oh, hey, yeah, like, I'm just here to help you guys. But, like, she can't go on and talk to them, so she's just like, bah, like, let's just get out of here. So we go on and, of course, have it to her Butcher. When going into this mission, we have it to her Butcher is telling Kimiko that she's going to go on this mission to kill somebody. And we have Kimiko that is telling Butcher, it's like, well, hey, I'm not your gun. And Butcher is like, well, of course you are. Like, technically, isn't that what everyone is in this team? Like, in one way, it's just kind of Butcher's, like, person to just kind of send them out to either die or kill somebody. And everyone else's hands are getting bloody here. So, like, I don't know how many times Butcher has probably had to kill somebody lately, or eventually, we also have Mother's Milk that is going on, and the only thing that he has really left, like, solo to do is to go on and be having these flashbacks of his past to this Trans Am and his family, and he's going on and watching some Solid Gold rerun with Soldier Boy going on and singing Rupture from Blondie, and he's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, yeah. And so, while Mother's Milk is going on and seeing Soldier Boy like doing the solid gold and everybody's dancing around. We have it to where like Mother's Milk is just clutching onto the chair as if he's gonna like just snap it in half or just snap a part of it off, like break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Anyways, but so we have it to where like Mother's Milk is just gonna lose at some point. He's gonna be snapping a check or snapping a neck and cashing a check somewhere when it gets to some part of this episode or these episodes, I'm assuming. So, because that guy, he's alive somewhere. Anyways, or he's the guy that I didn't get to. He's the one guy that got away. Being very possibly vague here until the end of the episode. So, as you probably will know if you saw this episode. So Kamiko is to eventually be forced to go on and do this mission, and then kind of after the mission, we have Kamiko that's telling Frenchie here, it's like, well, hey, like, you know what, like Butcher and Little Nina and like all these people, they're all the same. Like, how about we just run off together? After this whole mission is over, like, let's be done with this. Let's go anywhere. And Frenchie's like, yeah, like, let's go. So, after this mission is over, of course, because we're already committed. So, because they've already had so much fun in this season, like them running off together, let's go on and have them continue to just run off together. So, now we get to the second mission. So, like, supposedly, like, Little Nina was just to say that they were going on into this lab. And we have a tour. Of course, the boys were thinking, like, oh, yeah, like, some lab. Like, this will be easy to break into. No problem. Come to find out that this is actually a military lab. And so they're like, oh, fuck. Like, so we have Butcher that is trying to go on and figure out like the power system to try to like eventually like pull wires to try to knock the power out, but he can't figure it out, so he just takes a crowbar to it. So they go on and they break into this military lab. So we also have it where Butcher was talking to Mother's Milk and was going on and telling him, it's like, well, hey, like, you know why, like, I wanted you on my team, on my side, and like, we have it to where Mother's Milk is like, well, because I went on and like I punched my superior, and so like that told you I was strong, and Butcher was like, no, like I went on and I like talked to all your people, and they like told me that you were a natural born leader. And so maybe at some point, like, I'm going to hand this off to you, and you're going to go on, and you're going to be the new leader of this team. And I'm like, yeah, like, that's cool. And plus, also, like, we might need to go on, and maybe we're going to shift in leadership eventually when it seems that certain people are to have certain focuses. And so maybe Mother's Milk is going to just have to just step in. Even though it seems with the way this episode ends, he's like, dude, I'm out. I'm out of here. So, we go on to this science lab, this military lab, and we then go on and have it where, like, this all comes down to this group who is to see this little guinea pig, or this, like, I think it's a, like, they say it was a guinea pig or a gerbil, but I'm going with guinea pig because it seems that Mother's Milk is know what he's talking about. So we have it to where Frenchie is just kind of, hey little Jamie, hey little thing you, and all of a sudden we go on and have this guinea pig, who I'm like, this thing probably has some weird goofy power, and surefire enough, like this thing just starts like ricocheting throughout the glass piece as if it's some screensaver that goes really fast. And then eventually it's starting to break through the little seal, and we have it where the Butcher's like, look alive, everybody! Let's go in, because we have it where Mother's Milk is to take one of these guards and is to knock him out. And I think the first thing that he ends up saying is like Red Dawn, and then the second thing that he ends up referencing is Rocky 4, which, if a lot of you people don't know, like, if you guys don't remember the original Red Dawn, if you don't remember Rocky 4, then I'm not going to explain either one of those to you because that would take too much time. One of the Red Dawns is reviewed on this channel, but not the older one, which is to actually be the one that Mother's Milk is referencing in this episode. So with that said, fart nugget. Moving on. I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Patrick Swayze. So we go on into this episode, and so all of a sudden all these guys with these AK-47s are coming in, and we realize that the boys are starting to run out of ammo because they didn't really come here planning to fight an army. So Mother's Milk is running out of bullets, and everybody else is starting to tap out, and so we have it where the butcher is looking at Huey, and it's like, should I? And Huey's like, yeah, it seems right. So we go and we have Butcher, who is cutting people in half, and is having bullets just bounce off of him. And so the Butcher is going on and is to, of course, kill those guys. And so now they're going on like, oh my god, like, you have powers? And they're like, well, temporary, you know? Temporary compound V. And they're like, oh my god. So we all of a sudden have it to where the Butcher is to have this like sealed, like, cryogenic tube thing that he is to open this door of, because they're actually looking for that soup gun that that they are to led to believe that that Soldier Boy was to fire off. And I'm actually assuming that that actual weapon came from inside Soldier Boy, and that's kind of the thing that maybe they didn't realize at first. So we go on, we have the Butcher that's opening up this container, and now all of a sudden, like, we find Jensen Ackles, Soldier Boy, who is to rip from his straps and is to take off this oxygen thing, and is to, of course, be naked. As well as Huey was also naked a second ago, because Huey was to see some guard trying to get to Mother's Milk. So Huey puts his hand through this guy's chest, and is to realize, oh my god, like, I have some kind of, like, teleportation power. And so we also figure out that Huey also has powers also. So, but anyway, so we have Soldier Boy, who makes it out of his container, or his chamber, and immediately goes on and is to see Frenchie, and he just blasts this thing from out of his chest. And so Kimiko is to move Frenchie out of the way, and Kimiko is to take the blast. And then Soldier Boy just walks out like nothing happened. He doesn't say anything. Maybe he is suffering from amnesia. Maybe he doesn't know anything. Maybe it's, like, been too long since he's been like, held in captivity. So we go on, and we all of a sudden have it where Kimiko, I guess, is not healing from her injuries right away. And so they're all running in this van, going on and saying, like, oh my god, like, is she gonna heal from her injuries? I don't know. Like, this is different. This is weird. And we have it to where we have Butcher and we have Huey that are so focused on their powers that nothing really matters. Nothing else really matters. And so we go on and we have it where, of course, Mother's Milk is telling Butcher, like, hey, I'm out. Like, this, like, we don't really have much of any team left, so I'm out. We also have, of course, a moment here where Ashley was to go on and see some guy rattling off some script, And she, of course, is to take this this adult toy and torture this scriptwriter that possibly she will go on uh, and say the same thing that Homelander was to say to her. She's going to repeat it back to this guy, and he's like, yeah, like, I think I am. I think I am that person. And so she's going to turn around and torture this guy, supposedly, with this Homelander adult toy. But also, we have it where both Homelander and Starlight, because I wanted to leave this at the end, because technically that's the way that this episode kind of ends anyways. We go on and we have it where Homelander was telling Starlight and all these guys, like, hey, anybody who is with Edgar, like, hey, like, they better get out now, or they're gonna suffer the same fate as he did. So Starlight's with Homelander, they're kind of doing a photo op, and so Homelander's like, well, hey, like, you know what, I feel like flying, how about I fly us out of here? Like, I'll take you to this great view. And Starlight's just like, well, I don't really want, and he's in, like, the car's right here, and Homelander's like, hey, do you want to see us fly out of here? And so everybody's like, yeah, and so it's like, Starlight's like, fine. So Homelander flies Starlight out of the location that they're in to get to this rooftop. So when Homelander is to drop Starlight, Starlight is to go on and find that Supersonic is dead, killed by Homelander. And so Starlight's like, how could you? Kind of thing. And so Homelander's like, well, hey, like, I heard from a little birdie called A-Train that you guys were trying to put on a mutiny against me. So, like, I went on and killed off, like, your ace in the hole right away. You know? So, when we have it to where Homelander is telling Starlight that, like, next time it'll be Huey. Like, think of that. Every time that you want to go up against me, like, next time it'll be Huey. Say it. So Starlight's like, next time it'll be Huey. It's like, yeah, just think of that. Just drill it into your head and just be like, have that fist in the back of you, and just, because the lights are glowing, but the fist ain't back there. Come on, Starlight, get that fist back. You know, anger, upset, enragement, if that's never even going to ever be a word, but still, it'd be cool. So, we have it, of course, where we have to think about the repercussions of what's going to happen to A-Train after this, by simply, what had happened to Supersonic. You think somebody's going to get their comeuppance. Sadly enough. I like it. I've been really liking A-Train, like, these past, like, especially these past 2 seasons. Like, I didn't like him in the first season. He was coming off as this kind of douche. But, like, I'm really just starting to like A-Train. Like, eventually we'll just, even though he may not be on the right side of things, I still like this character. I do. He's kind of interesting. So, we'll kind of see what happens, with the rest of this show, so to speak. Because going on, I hopefully remembered everything. There might have been a thing that might have slipped through the cracks. We had Homelander that was going on and making his way to Newman's place and was having a crack about Newman's time of the month. And he's like, joking, brr. So, Homelander is to go on and is to give Newman the original, without the herbs and spices, Compound V, the blue stuff. And so, we of course have Homelander that's telling Newman, it's like, well, hey, like, you chose your kind. Like, it was the smart choice. And then Homelander flies away. So, we have it to where Newman is going to her daughter, and telling her, it's like, well, hey, like, I'm going to go on and give this to you, because I think it'll help you be safe, because I think you need to be safe right now. So we go on and we have Newman, who's injecting this girl with Compound V, and she's hurting and she's crying, and I'm like, no, let's not see that. Yeah, like I get it that it's gonna be like, look at Butcher and just temporary Compound V. He's like barfing in toilets and like who knows what else. Like the stuff that we didn't get to see of what else he did. Uh, he's gonna be Slimer at some point. Who knows? But other than that, yeah, I think I've made enough jokes enough. So with that said, I hope that I covered most of this episode, but if not, then by the end of the day, we can go on into the next week, and I can rebuttal and say whatever I missed or skipped around about, because I knew there was going to be a lot of stuff just going on and saying, like, let me know in the comments below, like, what was your, like, big moment? You were like, yeah, I like seeing, like, Soldier Boy, or, oh my god, like Supersonic. Like, we never got to see what Supersonic his power was. He was just there to present, like, we never saw what he did. I didn't get what Supersonic was. Is that just him, like, being a canary where he screams? I wanted to know. Could we have just had a flashback where Supersonic fought briefly Homelander, but then Homelander killed him just to see what his power was? Did they ever showcase what Supersonic's power was in the comic book? God dang it! Son of a bitch! I'm pit now. I'm ticked. I'm mad. But anyways, other than that, interesting episode. Because of course, mid-season finale. So with that said, I think I'm gonna finally just get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.